Well, here we are, Francis-less but Bianca full, episode 10 of We've Got Nothing. I'm Craig Harper and...
I'm Bianca Chatfield.
Frankie Leach is on the way. He'll be here very soon.
Wonder what hat he's wearing today. I'm always intrigued by that.
He is en route, en route. Well, let's make a
I'm glad
prediction.
it's him, actually, because it's always me running late, so I'm actually glad today it's him.
What do you think he might have on his scone? The beret, the beanie...
I think
baseball cap.
he's got a beanie on today.
It's beanie weather.
Because it's freezing.
It is freezing. We're recording this, what day is today? Thursday?
Thursday. Yep.
Thursday in Melbourne. It is very cold.
And you need a blanket.
It's a bit of a chill factor going on.
You don't have a beanie on.
Mm.
Yep. What have you been doing, Craig?
Well, I've been very busy. Bianca, thank you for asking. I'm putting together a little program and potentially taking some people to
I saw
Thailand.
that. Where'd you get that idea from?
Well, one of the girls that I train, the lovely Miranda, coach, has just relocated there, and she was telling me about it. She came back for a week to do some stuff.
Yep.
She was telling me about it, and I said, well, we should maybe do a thing. And she's like, yeah, let's do a thing. I went, all right, let's do it. I said, well, I'll just float the idea on Facey and see if anyone's interested. Well... I had tentatively 100 who said I'm interested.
That's
I only
so
got
good.
12 to 15 spots. And I had, I would say,
more than
about 20,
once.
25 who said, I absolutely want to come. Well, here's my thing, though. So it'll be, my concept was, let's go on a Sunday, get people to arrive on a Sunday night-ish in Phuket. And program will run from Monday morning. So they stay the Sunday night, but just hanging out. Program starts Monday morning till Friday night, fly out the following Saturday. Just trying to figure out all the logistics of the actual running the program, venue, accommodation, food, all that stuff. I was just trying to think about, I've been talking to Melissa, who runs my life, about all of the stuff around insurance and trying to figure out all that stuff, from that point of view.
Are you going to give them some downtime when they're in Thailand? Like, are they going to have time away to be silly and
Who's
enjoy
that
their
man
holiday?
that's just walked into the studio?
Oh, I got it wrong.
Yeah, we're live.
We're live. Come in. We had a bet on what hat you'd wear today, and I just lost it.
Yeah, he went the bean.
We've swapped seats too.
I know. I'm all discombobulated. Hello.
Wow, look at you. Are you wearing
I
camo?
like this.
Kind of.
If you're going into Silicon Valley, no one could see you.
Exactly. or Monet painting or something, yeah.
Is this a new purchase?
No, this was purchased in Paris about 10 years ago.
I like that.
How are we all? Sorry, I'm late.
That's all right. We're just finishing conversation. That is, we're just trying to figure out
We're going to
logistics.
Thailand with Craig.
Oh. Well, I'm thinking of running a program towards the end of the year, and I said to Bianca, well, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who lives over there. We're going to run it together. But now we're trying to... we're just figuring out, because I got a bit inundated. I said, we might take 12 to 15 people, and I had 100-ish people respond and go, I'm quite interested, and about 20 go, I definitely want a spot, no matter what. So now I'm trying to figure it all out. But it's a good problem to have.
And so many people are doing it in Bali. Like when I was in Bali in Feb, I remember telling you how there was all these groups over there that are doing leadership work and personal development, plus a bit of fitness, plus a bit of holiday time. And it's just so popular and so trendy.
Just trying to find the mix, I reckon, of a bit of brain stuff, a bit of personal or professional development with some downtime, a bit of fun, some good food, bit of sun, bit of switched on, bit of switched off.
And would you be, I think you really need to be strategic on who you invite to. Not as in who you invite, but like you can't have 60-year-olds with 20-year-olds because they've got very different holiday expectations.
I think diagram might intersect somewhere.
In a program, I think you can. But what I'm going to do is, wherever we run it, is have it so that there's about 8 hours a day of programmed stuff, and they can do as much or as little as they want.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the programmed stuff could be anything from yoga to behavioural psychology, anything in between.
Awesome.
Where head stuff, body stuff, emotional stuff, relationship, communication stuff. But if they want to do 2 hours a day or they want to do all 8 hours, which I'd be suggesting they do most of it, because they're still going to have another 8 hours on top of that to
hit the moonlight party on the beach and stay
that's
up all
right,
night
and make
drinking
sure.
tank.
See, I'm not sure how Craig would cope with that if he had some rogue people coming that would just wanted to
I thought
party
this
all
was a
night.
Kentucky tour.
what are you saying?
And you're like, look after your body. I've never drunk alcohol.
That's right, and stop rooting each other. What is that about? I wonder, I never thought of that till just then. There could be a little
I'm on the wrong
That's
tour.
what I mean.
a little bit of bed hopping. That's right. It's not a Kentucky
Don't
expedition.
you get
It's a
involved.
change your life program.
That could change your life too, though, in the wrong way.
Speaking of change your life programs, see on the news the other night Tony Robbins and the people in Sydney doing the fire walk.
No.
I
About
know. Well, there's
30
some Nigel Smart style burnt feet.
about 30 was it? Did you see that? No, I think it was around 30 odd people burnt their feet and were carried out in various states of disrepair.
So can I just ask, after the second or third person has walked away with char-grilled feet, who's the idiot that goes, I'm next?
Fuck it. Yeah, let's
Let's do it.
But facts now are, as you do understand in this day and age, facts are...
Are you not comfortable in that chair?
I'm okay.
Because you look a bit
Are you all right?
uncomfortable.
Do you feel out of sorts?
No, I'm just sort of settling in. Facts are so passé, as we discovered with the Brexit example. Facts
How long
are
did
over.
it take
Hang
him
on,
to
can
get
you...
into
All
that?
right,
You
I'd
know,
like your opinion on this one.
The facts are over. Facts are dead. Facts, because Michael Gove, who's one of the leaders of the Brexit campaign, successful lead campaign, said, people are tired of facts. They're tired of experts.
Right.
Tired of experts.
Right.
They're going to feel what's important and they vote accordingly. So facts are dead. Don't give me any facts. Don't give me any reason. Don't give me any logic. Don't give me any science. Nigel Farage, the man who leads UKIP, the United Kingdom's Independence Party, took up smoking recently as a middle-aged man because he said, I think the doctors have got that wrong. Facts. So this is the age in which we're living. So people walking over the hot coals, that guy just burned his feet. Fuck that. Facts. That's hot. No, it's not. Facts are dead. I feel that I can walk across there.
Yeah.
This is the age in which we live.
Well, where's the space where you kind of listen to?
Tired of experts, Craig. Tired of experts.
Yeah. Well, that counts out. Well, I'm not an expert.
Yeah,
All of
down
us.
there.
Yeah, that's we all get paid for our opinion.
We're all
Maybe we
finished.
shouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah. Well, was that completely as something of a political observer and sometime commentator? Was that totally unpredicted for you, or
No, but it's astounding. It's an amazing time in which we live. Yeah.
what's astounding about it?
Because it's a seismic shift in the political landscape for the whole world. Because Europe has stood as the EU, and the common market has stood for since World War II has been. How deep do you want me to go on this?
Go deep.
Well, after the
Should we get
disaster,
comfy?
after the disaster of 2 world wars, where competing centres of power in Europe destroyed the continent twice in the stage of 50 years, the European project was designed to build institutions of common interests across all those countries, so that interdependence would mean that their common interest means that they would have to sort out their differences because they had too much stake in each other to fight about them. And so to have one of the main planks of that, being the United Kingdom, remove itself from that, is quite a shock to most people in Europe who have found, the EU is not perfect in any sense. I'm sure it has enormous bureaucracy that causes enormous problems, but the peace dividend, 60 years of relative peace in Europe, can't be underestimated. So it's a really big deal. It's a massive deal. Who knows how it plays out, but the fact that they walked away from it, and mostly on the basis of a fairly reductive, ugly, and in the end, blatantly racist campaign against immigration is really scary. That appeal to emotion above the facts, which are now and the information which would suggest that the European Union's probably delivered more in terms of security, peace, and prosperity over a long period of time than without it, is amazing. I find it astounding. But then I'm a guy who believes in facts.
So why? How does that affect us? And will something like that happen with the election on Saturday?
Don't know if we've got the same set of issues, but yeah, there might be. I mean, the immigration debate's pretty strong here as well, whichever side you stand on it, but facts have not been a huge part of that either. It's mostly been based on emotion and fear. And even, take an example for our government. So when our government says that it won't talk about on-water operations when it comes to refugees because they have somehow quarantined that from letting us know what really happens when boats do or do not come, they're saying that we don't need to know the facts. What we need to know is the boats have stopped. So it's not actually based on information that we can make a judgment ourselves, but the fear of the boats. So, we live in an era where facts are dead. Don't give me facts. Take up smoking. Craig,
Do not
doctors
take
had
up
it wrong.
smoking.
Nigel
Don't
Farage
do
has taken
that.
up smoking.
But is there a bit of a collective national sense over there of, oh, fuck, what have we done? Because it seems to be...
Seems to be on
It
Facebook
seems to be
anyway.
like, shit, hang on. Oh, we didn't know this was... hang on.
haven't,
Can we do it again? Can I have another go?
2 million people have signed a petition, haven't they?
Well, you know what? Fuck them. Because you cannot have a referendum and then say, oh, it's the best out of 3. You know, you can't.
Hang on.
And go. You can't do it that way.
All
And
right.
that's what's fascinating about it. But it was a protest vote probably against, everyone's got a reason to kick the crap out of any government without realising or really investigating the consequences. Because unlike an election where I can vote you out, and maybe in 4 years' time I can say, I've changed my mind. Can't walk this one back.
Do you
Can't
want
walk this
Francis
one
to
back.
do something?
Am I? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Got the good one
There
on
you go.
today.
Awesome.
Anyway, enough of me banging on. But I was absolutely obsessed with it, in case you didn't know this week.
No, we couldn't tell at all. We couldn't tell.
Well, I'm a student of history, and this is up there with the fall of the Berlin Wall in terms of seismic events in European history. And we saw, and we're of an age where we saw that come down.
Are we boring you, Bianca?
No, no.
You got your phone
She's
out?
got her phone out.
Yeah, because I'm talking about...
Come
carry
on.
I'll
Carry
talk about
on.
it in a
I'll
minute.
stop ranting.
What
No,
do you,
oh God.
what do you got that
tweeting.
out for?
Because I got a tweet during the week, and this has fascinated me, because when we do this, we just banter, right? We
Yeah.
don't really think much about it.
Correct.
We know some people are listening, but we don't really know how many people.
We have no plan.
We have no plan.
The best plan is no plan.
We've got
Walked in
nothing.
and
That's
started-
Which
right.
is not very scientific,
Ranting.
of course.
I apologise.
And I don't know what episode it was, but a few months ago, probably, I spoke about how when we're in public and people come up to me and always talk about me being tall.
Yeah.
So I got a tweet from Kate O'Neill, and she said, "I'm dying to see you down the street so I can comment on how tall you are and you can comment on how fat I am. Hashtag we've got nothing." And I just was a bit kind of...
Do you know who that is?
Pardon?
Do you
No,
know-
I don't think so.
Do you feel a bit bad?
I do feel a bit bad. I was like, we say anything on here and anything goes, and then we get ourselves into a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
I know I said that I wish I had the opportunity to do that, but I will not be doing that, calling people fat in public. You do. I know you do, obviously. all the
Not
time.
strangers.
No, just
Well,
kidding.
don't throw me under
Yeah.
the fat bus.
On your relationship
What
of
have you,
trust.
what have you
No,
said on
we're-
air that you've kind of gone, oh, whoops, I
Oh,
shouldn't have
all
gone
the
that far?
time.
What hasn't he said on air? That's
Yeah.
like saying, so did you breathe
Yeah,
yesterday?
but surely there's one circumstance where, I mean, you're not Eddie Maguire and it's been blown up like last couple of weeks, but
Oh, plenty of times.
there's got to be one that stands
The one that
out.
stands out was when I was asking Lindley Frame about how she must be wrapped that when she took up swimming again, that having sacrificed her swimming career to look after her children so her husband could pursue his dream of playing basketball in Russia. And my producer was typing on the screen in big, bright red letters, "They're getting divorced. They're getting divorced." And I couldn't back. It was that question I couldn't back out of.
And so what did you say?
I just had to. I got
Are you
halfway
getting
through it.
divorced?
No, I had to end the question, and Lindley, to her eternal credit, because she just said, "Well, you obviously haven't heard the news that we're separated." She handled it very well, but it was like I was driving a car with no brake. I was pumping on the
Just
pedal,
like,
and I was just
oh.
going to crash into
Abort,
There was
abort.
no way to get out of that question, and I was hiding under the desk. Going, "Oh, that was bad."
That's funny. Well,
That
there's
was
one person
bad.
that... Well, nothing springs to mind right now, but what does spring to mind is someone that I would love to ask that question to, and I think Francis would know the answer, which is Sandy Roberts,
Oh,
who famously was interviewing a girl called Leanne Dick. Who
she just won a race. She was
that's
a
right.
horse owner or trainer. in
And
South
he
Australia.
said, "I'm standing here with Leanne Cock, Dick,
we,
live." So he must have been thinking, because I do this word association. If I'm going to go to someone, I
Yeah.
go word association. He must have gone Leanne Dick, and he's gone pictured Cock. Leanne. He's gone, "I'm here with Leanne Cock, Dick." I've gone, "You poor fucker," because I know exactly.
yeah.
And that was real time, and that was live.
And we still play that on the radio whenever we get a chance
Oh,
because
really?
it's so funny.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
Oh,
That's so
isn't
good.
Poor
But thanks for
Sandy.
your tweet, Kate O'Neill. I'd
Yeah.
like to
Yeah,
get
thanks.
More.
And
I'll be more careful what I say now.
we also got an email from somebody.
Oh, yes.
Jeff, what was Jeff saying or asking?
Yeah, do you want me to read out the actual email?
Have we got an email address if people want to send things through, Melissa?
If people want to make
just
contact,
wander in and talk crap.
if you
That's right.
down
Just
late.
joining on the
I was visiting my
conversation.
mum and dad. That's why I'm
what
late.
just now?
Yeah, on the way
Yeah,
back from
and she's
Broadmeadows.
now a big fan of Jack Stevens.
She loves. It's not easy to get on that fridge.
I know.
It's a very, very...
Craig wouldn't know what we're talking about because he's not on Twitter.
She have all her favourite people on the fridge.
Nick Rewalt and Robert Harvey have owned the front of her fridge
Wow.
pretty much for the last 10 years, only those two. And I went there today and there was a big poster of Jack Steve and I went, whoa.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a revolution.
That's
a revolution.
Jack should be very proud that he's been given fridge status. In
Wow.
12 minutes.
Okay, so we've got an email from Jeff, I think Cicluna. Is that how you say that? How would you say that?
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yep, awesome. Hey guys, I love the podcast. Go to sleep with it every night.
Wow.
But the
weird
whole
dreams.
Asahi pronunciation discussion has almost killed me. It is pronounced as Asahi. Asahi. Thanks for the great show. Now, if I've stuffed that up, please, Jeff, correct us, email us again.
Poor Jeff.
Asahi.
Jeff's home stabbing himself going, oh no.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Again. So what's the email address if you want to send something through to us? Oh, I'm an idiot. What have I done? Okay. Anyway, keep talking. Oh, info@theuproject.global if you've got any questions for us.
And also
Yes.
people can, well, obviously, I
Tweet.
guess people are watching this in we'vegotnothing.com. We'vegotnothing.com. So all of our episodes are up there.
Firewalkers, Craig.
Yeah,
back
fireworks,
to the-
in hindsight, probably not a great thing to do. But
Would you try?
I've done, I tell you what I did. I did I think it was for NAB. We did a thing which I don't do anymore, and this will explain why, called Trust Falls, where, teamwork, trust.
I reckon you've done that with us. Netball.
Yeah. So what we would do is we have basically a brick wall where people would stand up on, and they would, just like this, just fall back, and
Yeah,
the
and
team
it'll
would
be
catch
underneath.
them, and it's fine.
And it's like, yay, great job.
Yeah,
People
well
are
done.
scared
And then,
and
I
worried.
feel so fucking amazing. I'm
Yeah.
going to do it again. It's-
Woo!
These days you just hear, because everyone will be on their phone tweeting, oh shit,
Oh, fuck. Sorry, Abby.
I was just posting. Anyway,
I
keep going.
was tweeting.
I was trying to snap that.
That's right. Well, anyway, we had a lady who was terrified, and she went, I'll do it, but can I do it frontwards? I'm like, oh, okay. Fell frontwards,
Ouch.
broke her
Oh.
nose.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, fuck. Sorry about that, Diane. And all of these executives going, and in the middle of it, when you're in charge of something, and on the inside you're like, fucking hell.
Is my assurance up to date?
What have I done? On the outside, you're like, and everyone looks to you to
Yeah,
see
like-
how you're going to respond. All right, so what we need to do, fuck.
So did she actually hit the ground?
No,
And-
she hit someone's,
Oh,
she just hit
that would've
face
been funny
first
if
on
she hit the ground.
someone's, smashed her face on someone's wrist.
Who would have
Or,
thought that could happen?
yeah. I
Blood
know.
everywhere?
I probably didn't think it through all the way. Yeah, blood.
The
yeah.
whole show.
Nose
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, over the years, though, in gyms, I've seen a lot worse.
Yeah.
Trust
I've
when
seen some-
trust exercise went to bust exercise.
Yeah, so I went, yeah, we'll probably call it a day on that. Let's go and eat some cake.
But if you told me to walk along whatever they do,
The
the Coles, I'd do it. Like if you
You'd do
told
it?
me to do
Oh,
it,
well, if I told you to do it,
I would do it.
Yeah.
If you were like, this is going to show you inner strength and how mentally tough you are, I'd be like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah, but if I'd done it and I walked out the other end and I was unscarred,
Oh.
you'd do it for
Yeah.
sure.
But if you were blistered, I'd be.
But I think
not
that's
doing that.
because. Do you mean just me or anyone?
No,
Yeah.
so to put it in context, because you've done a lot of
Yeah.
work with our teams in the past,
Yeah,
strength and
yeah,
conditioning,
yeah.
but also like the mental side of things, like those team games. We've
Yeah,
done
yeah,
that,
yeah,
catch
yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
So I guess the trust that I would have for you
Yeah,
to tell me
yeah.
that, I'd be like, all
Yeah,
right.
well, I definitely wouldn't be getting you to do that anyway.
Because
But
it was famously in the AFL in the 90s, Nigel Smart, who played for the Adelaide Crows, there's famous footage of him. I forget who the coach might have been, Early Malcolm Blight, where they got him to walk over a fire pit and he came off second best in that one and missed a bit of the start of the season. 'Cause he
Whoa.
got
well, I
burned.
think he had
burnt feet.
Yeah, second-degree burns,
Yeah,
or
it
like
was
he had
really-
reasonably
So
serious.
the psychology around it.
Well, I think the psychology around it is doing something that terrifies you and coming out the other side, and it's about the seismic emotional and psychological shift of you face adversity, you came out, and fuck, if you can do that, you can do
Yeah.
anything. I think that's the premise, but when you burn the fuck out of your feet, it might have the reverse effect. You go, I'm never doing anything again. That was fucking horrible.
I'm never wearing shoes ever again.
But it is amazing when people do shit that scares them or daunts them or is perceptively uncomfortable for
Yeah,
them.
it's
The shift, like on a very small level, but I reckon I've trained over the years, not many, but maybe a dozen people over the years for their first marathon.
Yep.
And not athletes, just Mr. and Mrs. Suburbia. And the shift in them when they finish running a marathon, even if it's a 5-hour marathon, but you're talking about people who used to eat cake for breakfast and weigh 130 kilos, it's just transformational.
Yeah. I mean, I went through a period where I was obsessed with doing that sort of stuff, jumping out of aeroplanes and swimming with sharks and trying to test myself against all the things I was afraid of. It was great. But it gets tiring after a while. Looking for something else to scare the crap out of yourself
that
with.
adrenaline rush you get.
Yeah.
But I'd never get, we'd always do a lot of height stuff, and height doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
But it used to annoy me that was always the only challenge you'd seem to do, is stuff that scared people who were scared of height. So you do all these rope courses and...
What would scare you then? What would be the one we go, okay, I've got to
if you put me breath. In the ocean with sharks, that would scare the hell out of me.
I got into it. I didn't get into the swimming in the ocean with sharks, but the one that really got me was being in a tank in Mooloolaba. This was in the mid-90s, and this is when I was at Triple J, and we used to do this thing, the Unearthed Project, and it got to the stage where at the end of every Unearthed, we had to do, the presenters got into this weird little thing where you had to one-up the other guy with what you said goodbye with. And so we were doing Sunshine Coast Unearthed, and people had done all sorts of weird crap. I said, well, I'm getting in this. They had a tiger shark in captivity.
What?
And you could get in, if you were brave enough, you could get in a scuba gear and dive with the tiger
And you
shark.
did it?
Yeah, of course I did it. The shark was well fed, so but it's a massive predator. So it comes up to you, and you're in the tank with the shark.
So you're not in a cage?
No
just
cage,
in a
just in the wetty with the scuba gear on. And the little grey nurses and stuff you don't worry about, but this thing comes right up to you, and it's about from me to you away, and it looks at you, and that surge of adrenaline you get. No, the instructor said, "Don't look." I got the tap on the arm. Keep your arms in close, just in case he wants to have a nibble. But that surge of adrenaline you get.
So what? He should
just
take
in
your
case.
shoulder instead of your finger?
Well, I don't know, but when it came up close and had a look, and you realise you're not the biggest dick in the room anymore. Like, you are the.
What, you had to get in the tank to realise that?
Oh, it's an amazing feeling to feel it though. And
Would
then
you
he
do it
went
again?
past, and I did touch him. So
did you?
Past, yeah.
And then he went...
And then you see the little that yellowish fleck in the. It was an
listened-
amazing experience, but
my God.
and
I would
I've
get
got a
in the
recording
cage,
of me
not on
getting
my
out of the tank at the end of it.
Yeah.
And you know that Icelandic football caller?
Oh,
You've
yes,
heard this
yes,
week?
yes.
I sounded a bit like that.
Right.
Like,
That's cool.
What was your emotional? Were you excited?
Yeah,
Was it euphoric?
Yeah, I was just like bug-eyed. It was just like, man,
That's
I looked at
That's
shark
one of those things
right
that
in
you
the
do.
eye.
I listened to a podcast
My
this
God.
week, The Fighter and the Kid. If you want another fun podcast to listen to, folks,
Listen to us
Fighter and the
first.
Kid. But anyway, they did one last week with a guy called Paul de Gelder. Do you know who he is?
No. Should I
You
Google?
will know when I tell you. Paul de Gelder is that Navy diver that had his arm and leg bitten off in Sydney Harbour. So he got attacked by a bull shark.
Yeah.
12-foot bull shark, had his arm above the elbow bitten off.
Right
and
at Garden
his-
Island, right there
Yeah.
in the middle of the harbour.
Well, he's a stud, that dude. You have a listen, folks, to that. That is also Fighter and the Kid, Brian Callen, Brendan Schaub, who's an ex-UFC fighter, just talking with...
What's the guy's name?
His name is Paul de Gelder, and he's a stud. He's so
So
tough.
he was a
and he's-
Navy diver.
He's still in the Navy.
Yeah.
But he now, he travels a lot and talks a lot, but he does a lot of stuff with sharks and education. But he's a
Why?
beast. I mean, he trains. He's a big unit. He's a man's man, and he's just got a great... And it's not like, I got bitten by a shark and now I'm telling everyone how to be positive. He's just really, really
So
a
what
cool guy.
I'm just looking at pictures of him.
So his story for people.
So
that don't know-
he was talking about when he got bitten. Obviously, there's no pain, but he jumped out. No pain, and he literally he was bleeding out. He said, fortunately, he was with all these highly trained counterparts who pulled him into the boat. And he said he was like seconds from bleeding out. And he said one of his fellow Navy officers, they're not SEALs, but they're the Australian version of SEALs, literally stuck his hand up in his leg, and grabbed the artery. So, because there's no leg. So he's put his hand in the severed leg and he saved his life. And he could feel himself just approaching and coming back from death. And guys were giving him cardiac massage and And obviously, like literally, he would have been dead within 60 seconds from that because
Had that
bit
gone
off his leg. But they got him in very quickly.
And so you're not in pain because you're in shock, is that right?
Correct. You're in shock and adrenaline, cortisol, everything's going crazy, and so you don't feel
It's
anything.
good to see that Mick Fanning also was in the water this week in South Africa again.
Yes. Isn't
That's
that
right.
unbelievable?
At the
Can you
same
even
place where-
imagine?
That's guts, isn't it? So for those who don't know, Mick Fanning was kind
Bay,
of bumped into in Jervis Bay in,
South
or was it
Africa?
Jeffreys
JB?
Bay?
Jeffreys Bay. Yeah,
Jeffreys
South
Bay.
Africa, yeah.
In South Africa, and for the first time got back in the water in the same place that he was kind of attacked.
Well, yeah, he was. He was, that was extraordinary stuff.
That is.
And you could tell when it still, like when it first happened, he got in the boat, he was still a bit like, it was fun and it was a bit of a joke. And he was like, oh, well, this just happened. Then when he got back onto the land and the beaches started talking, he got more emotional about how close he was.
You wouldn't, I think there would be a moment of where you don't really get it.
No.
But that's funny how I reckon with some people you have that that inbuilt thing to want to do that stuff. Like I went to New Zealand, so to Queenstown where there's all the everything
Bungee
high
jump.
power and high sport and adrenaline. And they had, I don't know, one of the highest bungee jumps in the world. And I went up with some friends and it just didn't, like, I wasn't terrified, but I didn't want to do it. I'm like, it's not like I really want to do it, but I'm terrified. I just have no interest. It's like jumping out of a plane. People go on. I go, I don't want to. Like, there's nothing in me that says, yeah, I want to do that.
See, I love jumping out of a plane, but I've got no interest in bungee jumping.
I'm like you. I've done a bit of parachuting, but I just don't like the idea of bungee jumping. Isn't that weird?
It's more like the jolt, and I just think,
Yeah.
what are you looking at? The same thing the whole time? Whereas at least jumping out of a plane, you can see everything. And
I went up in a hot air balloon a couple of months ago for a little telly show that I was doing that 8 people watched. And again, I had no. They're like,
Did you not enjoy that experience?
It was okay, but it wasn't something I thought. Oh, I can't wait. Go up in a
That'd
hot
be
air
more.
balloon.
Was it boring? Because it's a
It's
bit
kind of
slow.
boring. It's not. I mean, it's beautiful, but you're up there and you go,
Yeah, I know.
the
I
serenity.
appreciate this.
Except when they turn the burners on.
Yeah.
But it is.
Serene then.
But they do keep it warm up there.
Yeah.
But it's interesting with a sound guy and camera guys,
Oh, yeah.
and like
Turn the
and
flames down.
The whole thing, the basket is about that big, so it's maybe 4 feet by 4 feet, and literally there was a whole bunch of people jammed in there.
Is there a weight limit?
Yeah, and I'm like maybe 1,000 kilos, and I'm interviewing the guy what do you call him?
Balloonist.
The pilot. The balloonist, trying to look like there's no one in there but us two. There's like 4 other people going,
Hey, I'm
Holding
leaning over the
me-
back here.
Falling out,
oh,
tied in.
Yeah, no, but it was very, very tranquil up there and very,
Appreciate it.
you
That's
know,
good.
You
yeah,
get to a point where you decide, I've done that, enough of that. I don't need to keep looking for that
yeah,
alive feeling.
yeah.
Maybe
But
it's just called getting old.
I reckon you get
Some
to the
people
point though where you find, like, I want the opposite of that now. Like, I look for the calm. Like, you know how some people like all about the rush. I just get to the point where I go, I enjoy that, and I enjoy. I think because I speak a lot and get in front of audiences a lot, that's a bit of a drug, and it's fun, and there's that euphoria and that connection and that, and then you go, and now I just want a total off switch.
Yeah.
That's the harder one to find.
Well, that's the. I mean, for me, that's where, without being weird, that's where I'm happiest. Is when I'm in that real serenity, that real the serenity. But
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
important. Yeah, but it's hard to find because the world crowds in on you so
Yeah.
quickly if you
Yeah.
allow it to.
yeah.
I had the keep going.
It requires a certain discipline to allow yourself to do that, to switch your phone off, to know that if you're not answering a message straight away, the world doesn't end. That you don't need to know, you don't need to know what Brexit is. Life will go on. You can have that space if you can find that space where you can enjoy that moment without feeling guilty. Some people feel guilty about allowing themselves to do that, which is one of the real anxieties people have, that they're indulging themselves. It's not easy to do.
And people that actually choose now to not be on social media, I think that's a really clever thing for people to do. And they feel like they're always missing out. But if you can step back and...
FOMO, the modern condition.
FOMO.
Do you know what that is, Craig?
Fear of missing out.
Well,
Well
done.
done.
Woo!
Boom. Well, I reckon social media and the internet and technology in general, like it is what we make it. It's like people going, oh, drugs are terrible. Well, not all drugs. Some drugs save your life. My dad takes about 5 a day. He'd probably be dead if he didn't. So it kind of depends what and how it's used. And I think if you can't have a conversation without your phone in your hand, or you can't go and go an hour without Facebook, or I think it's about the relationship that you have with it and how, because without doubt, it's a phenomenal resource, the internet, and all the other stuff. But again, it depends on the impact that it has on your social life, your emotional state, your psychology. When you look at people who are kind of almost distracting or babysitting their kids with tablets or phones, and I don't mean to be judgy here because I'm not a parent, so I wouldn't know, but I don't know that that's the best strategy when you've got a 3-year-old who's transfixed for 2 hours by some bright thing in front of their face.
Just a box of jelly beans and some orange cordial. That'll do it
Yeah, what would you
instead.
prefer, actually?
What?
Give kids, like, some chocolate or the food that they want, take them to Macca's, or give them an iPad? What's worse?
I want another option.
You don't have one, you've got to choose.
I don't want another option. Nah. Well, I mean, if I had to, Bianca, what are you, the devil? What are you?
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Maybe the tablet, maybe. But,
Okay, cool.
you know.
Just wondering.
Yeah. So I don't know though.
I'm just being
What
a
do
dick.
I
Don't worry
know?
about me.
What do I know? You know who I listened to the other day? Again, I don't know what you guys. I'll just throw out this name and tell me what you think, because for sure you'll have an opinion. You'll either like him or not. I listened to a 3-hour podcast of Joe Rogan with Russell Brand. He is
Out
fucking. He's out there, but if anyone thinks he's an idiot, have a listen. He's
3
Highland.
hours?
3 hours. That's how long. Every Joe Rogan podcast, he does 4 or 5 a week, and they're all about 3 hours. So we're very lazy.
Yeah. We've got to lift our game.
Yeah, imagine doing
Probably have to
that.
bring more
But
to the table.
he's such a
Russell.
clever.
I don't know
but
much about him.
you should.
Other than he was engaged to Katy Perry.
Well,
for a
he's a
couple
They
drug.
got married. They got married.
Oh, did they?
He's a recovering
And they got
drug
divorced
addict.
by text, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah, that's how they ended their relationship. He texted her.
Interesting.
That's my knowledgeable information.
You're
What
like
is the
you've
emoji?
said this before.
What is the emoji for divorce? How do you even?
It's
do
it's
that?
the heart that
fractured ring.
the broken heart. You know how?
Broken heart,
Yeah, it's shattered.
fractured ring and a middle finger.
That's right. Perfect.
Fractured ring. There's an image.
So Russell was interesting.
Oh, he's just very interesting. He's a very interesting cat. Oh, look, I just love the way that he looks at life, and not everyone will resonate with him, and I don't agree with everything he says, but he kind of says essentially he got to the point where he had everything in inverted commas, beautiful girl, and all this stuff, and money, and fame, and movies, and he realised that he was kind of kidding himself. I know a lot of people say this, but just the way that he deconstructs that, and it's not just that, and then he kind of realises what it is about and talks about, for him what works, and he's very self-aware and self-deprecating, and he talks about how flawed and stupid and fucked up he is, and I like that honesty,
He was. I don't know if he's still fun. Is he still doing stand-up? Because he was a political activist for a long time. He wrote a couple of books and got his teeth right into all of that.
Well, one of them famously called My Bookie Wookie.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a fucking great name. It's so him though, isn't it? Well, I don't know that he does much stand-up anymore.
No, he sort of walked away from all of that, hasn't he? He's got off the circus, out of the circus.
Yeah, I think so. Who's the person, the person that you love to listen to? I dare not ask this question, but
To
if
me,
you, for both of you,
I'm
somebody
still
that
thinking.
you love, where you go, I could listen to that person all day, well, not all day, but I love listening to there's a guy called Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, a genius.
Yeah, I love
Absolute
listening to
genius,
him.
yeah.
There's another guy called Sam Harris who wrote a book called End of Faith. I'm sorry to my Christian friends, but just the way that he talks objectively about religion and it just very measured and and that's not to jump on either side of the fence, but just those people who are deep, intelligent thinkers, and they manage somehow, as better than most anyway, to put the emotion to one side and say, well, what if we're wrong? Is it possible that we're wrong? Because the problem is with
That's critical thinking, which is a lost art. And
well, when you live in a certain paradigm of these are my beliefs, and fuck you, that's where that cognitive dissonance. When you think or believe something and you're non-negotiable on it, well, that means that you're not open to anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
there's a couple of people from me who work in that area or talk. John Ralston Saul, who's a Canadian philosopher who wrote I think the essential text on critical thinking, and the idea about making yourself a post-ideological person, so that even if you have a set of values that you believe in, that the best way for you to actually reinforce or to investigate what your values are to be challenged by those who have opposing opinions. And it's the essence of all great democracy, is the idea that the adversarial nature of our parliament is to have critical thinking, is to have voices from both sides of the house to try to come up with the best possible solution. But you have to be open to the fact that you might be wrong.
And that's the problem, because they're not.
No, not anymore. We've become so entrenched in our position. So Ralston Saul, for me, in that sense, that was a breakthrough moment for me when I read his stuff about that. I loved his books. Voltaire's Bastards is probably my favourite one about that sort of stuff, where it really challenged you. Yeah, you've got a set of beliefs, you've got convictions, but how do you go about, how do you value critical thinking and questioning your own set of values and trying to understand where other people are coming from? And you don't have to always agree with them, but to learn and understand, in a sense, to reinforce or to challenge your own views. So that's something that I've always really been a big fan of his. And in terms of someone else's, Doris Kearns Goodwin, who's a fantastic American historian who wrote my favourite history book called Team of Rivals about Abraham Lincoln. And she writes brilliantly about, and I'm obsessed with, in case you haven't gathered, I'm a little bit of a nerd, about US politics and presidential politics. And she writes these ripping yarns. And she was a regular on the Jon Stewart Show and the Daily Show for a long time. And her book, Team of Rivals, is the story of Lincoln and Lincoln's government and how he established a government around the time of the Civil War from his great political rivals and harness their energies and their differences to survive the war and to keep the Union alive. And she's just a great yarn. She's a brilliant historian, but she's just the best yarns. But I could listen to her forever, talking about those critical moments in history, the decisions people have had to make. She writes brilliantly, but she tells an awesome yarn. She's brilliant.
I'm surprised you didn't have Donald Trump on your list.
I've got no idea.
What about Alain de Botton, or whatever his name is? The British philosopher.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of, but I know.
I've heard him a couple of, what do you call them, dissertations or whatever?
Dissertation? What
I've
about
got no idea who you're talking about. None of these people.
Well, that's because they're not on reality show with their ass hanging out and getting, and going.
That's okay. No idea. I feel quite stupid in this conversation.
Well, no. Give us the update on everything else on Planet U. I know it's top secret and you can't, but there's netball teams starting. There's radio gigs happening.
Got the club scarf on.
Who? Collingwood?
Yeah.
Just black and white is a staple in your wardrobe, isn't it, Melissa, when you live in Melbourne in winter?
Any developments?
Aren't you going to ask who the person who I think is?
Yes.
Well, sorry. Yeah. Who's your favourite?
You didn't even want my answer. I'm going to go and say Oprah. Thank you. And do you want to know why? Not the Oprah. I quite like the Oprah you used to see on TV, but how she would question, how she would relate and get stories out of people, no matter who they were and no matter what part of the world they'd come from. Yeah. But what I love about her now, she's got a book called What I Know For Sure. And I just love that it's just basically this really about mindset, this positive mindset, this kind of you can completely control what you think and where the decisions you make and what direction you're going to go, and surrounding yourself with great people. And I just think her optimism on all of that is pretty cool. So I listen to anything that she does. I got to meet her.
Oh, you got to meet her.
And I was like,
okay, let's
so starstruck.
Where did you meet her at?
Come on.
I met her in Melbourne when she was here to do her big thing at Rod Laver.
Yeah.
And there was a Swiss function that they held beforehand. And so I was lucky to be in that Swiss function. They had about probably...
Swiss vitamins and...
Vitamins, stuff. Yep. So they had about 40 people who were invited to this pre-show event. So just to give you an idea, like I was there as a netballer. They had myself and Shani Layton, and then they had Leighton Hewitt and Beck Cartwright, his wife. And so it was all kind of people that are around the ambassador roles with Swiss. Anyway, we were all that excited to see her. She walked into the room. And usually, like in my world, in netball world, you have fans who want to meet you and, you go and talk to them or whatever. But as soon as she walked into the room, these 30 people all just swarmed on her and they had to have security. So all of us, security, like pushing everybody away, got her up on stage. Yeah, I was a bit more at the back, but everyone just wanted to talk to her and have a photo with her. They got up on stage. She chatted for 5 minutes. Yet again, walked down from the stage. Everyone just swarmed her, like Beck Cartwright,
so
Leighton
Hewitt.
So she has
magnetic star power.
Oh my God, she was amazing. And I probably spoke to her for about 30 seconds, but I was just couldn't believe it.
Does she I want to. Does she have a real aura, or is it just about how you think?
No,
Like,
she has this aura about her.
One of my friends met Bill Clinton and said there is something unbelievably charismatic and magnetic.
Yeah.
Like him or hate him.
Yeah.
And this person had zero interest, but just said it's like it just draws you in.
Yeah.
Was she the same?
She was exactly the same. And what I loved was when she was on stage, they were just doing a random Q&A with her, but what she was saying was so real that she would kind of muck up, and it wasn't perfect how she would talk. Yeah. And that's what made me realise that she is just this genuine, authentic person. And I loved it. And I couldn't get enough of her.
I think for her to have that sort of resonance, there has to be a level of authenticity. Because otherwise it doesn't sustain.
Yeah.
How on earth could you be in that position and not be a weirdo? I mean, that just for her to be that real after, how big is she? How famous is she? How many people want something from her? How many different directions does she constantly get pulled by? How many people? She can't go anywhere in the world without being recognised. No. And then to be able to sit and in front of you have a chat, and to be, for you anyway, you've got a pretty good bullshit filter, to go, nah, she's actually the real deal.
And I was just wanting to get a photo with her. But what I also loved, it annoyed me the next day on radio, because everyone who'd gone to a show was pretty much bagging her out the next day, going, oh, it wasn't what we thought it was going to be, because they thought it was going to be, hey, everyone, you're all going to get a car. Hey, everyone, you're all going to get this, like she used to do on her show like 20 years ago. But she honestly just stood up there, and you would appreciate this, stood there for 2 hours and just spoke. And the only cue she had nothing written down. The only cue she had was kind of what was on the screen in the background, which was more just like a picture to resonate. So
she's telling her life story?
Telling her life story, and kind of how things that kind of have challenged her and how she managed to move through it. And it was just
that was
incredible.
Probably almost just the wrong audience for her, in that they, like you said, they were there for something else.
That's
right. I would have
loved
loved that.
And if you'd followed her career for the past 5 years rather than what she'd done 5 years ago, then you would have known that's what you were going for. But I think most people just see her from her TV show and not read her books. But she does some meditation stuff with Deepak, and that's really cool too, just to listen to how they talk about things. And yes, you're with me.
Wow.
Girl power. Love it.
Wow. I saw some stuff she did with Eckhart.
Oh, yep.
She did a series of interviews and stuff with... I told you my Eckhart story. Did I tell the Eckhart story here?
No.
Where I went to see Eckhart Tolle.
So who's Eckhart Tolle?
Eckhart Tolle.
Do you not really know?
No.
Oh, yes.
Do you feel good?
Yeah, I feel great.
Yeah. Who's the dumb one now, Francis? Stick your political knowledge up your educated ass. So
What facts?
Eckhart Tolle is I think he's German, but he's an author. He's a spiritual teacher, and he wrote 2 main books, one called The Power of Now and one called A New Earth. And a few other things. And have you read any of his stuff?
Yep.
Okay, so when you start reading, this is the typical response. Like, people start reading and go, this is fucking bullshit, or this is the best thing I've ever read. And I read The Power of Now. I started to read it. I probably read 30 or 40 pages a decade ago and went, this is bullshit. And then 5 years later, I read it and I loved it, and I consumed it because I was in a different place. But it's really about... he talks a lot about thinking. He talks a lot about not thinking. He talks about how you are not your thoughts and your thoughts are not you, and being the observer of, like, thinking happens despite you. So 5% of everything that goes on in your brain happens on a conscious level, 95% in a subconscious level. And like it or not, you're going to think. It's virtually impossible to not think. But he talks about...
I've met a lot of people who can disprove that theory.
Yeah. Well, other than those sports fans that you seem to connect with. But just that kind of awareness and consciousness of knowing that you're not your body, and you're not your thoughts, and you're not your achievements, and you're not your brand. And it's fucking deep and profound, and I love it because that's where I'm at. But anyway, so I read his books, loved his books, and went, I'm going to see him. And I was so excited to go and see him. And it was in the city, I think at the, near the Arts Centre there. Anyway, it was like a 4,000 seat auditorium.
Wow.
And full. And he's the most boring speaker ever of all time. Like, he's profoundly, well, depending on your perspective, but some people think he's profoundly gifted and wise and all that stuff. Anyway, so I was really excited to go see him. And I'm like, yeah, come on, Eckhart. And everyone else is like super fucking spiritual, caftans, you know. And so we're all sitting there and there's this massive stage and one chair, and it looks like it's a chair from Bunnings that cost $8, right? There's no razzle dazzle, nothing. The guy walks out and goes, ladies and gentlemen, if you could respectfully make welcome to the stage, Eckhart Tolle, or something like that. Anyway, so Eckhart Tolle walks out to the side of the stage, and it takes him 2 minutes to walk to the chair, which is 80 metres or 60 metres. Then he sits in the chair, and I'm with a friend of mine, and I go, that's not going to be so fucking good, right? I'm so excited. And I'm like, yeah. And he sits in the chair and he looks up and he's about to say something, or I think he's about to say something, and he just looks at the audience and then he goes, and he doesn't say anything. And I'm like,
What?
And then he does this for, I kid you not, 3 or 4 minutes.
Is he doing
that's
breathing
weird.
exercises?
No, he just doesn't speak. And then by this stage, I'm getting anxious. And I'm going, what are you doing? It's like, we're all here. Come on, share some wisdom bombs. And it was really funny because whether or not this was intentional or whatever, but I, all by myself, got myself into this state where I was almost fucked off at him.
Yeah.
And then he just started talking, and he was really good, but it was very...
He's very monotone.
Well, you have this expectation of what he should do.
Yeah.
And so you get this response, or I got this response of frustration or anxiety or disappointment, and none of it was created by him.
No.
It was all created by my expectation of what he should be doing.
Yeah.
And even that, I went, oh,
Yeah.
okay. But the most monotone, if you weren't into it, you would find him the most boring man on earth. If you're into
Yeah.
it, he's like a modern day prophet. But and if you're interested, folks, Google some stuff. Have a look at him on YouTube.
Google some stuff.
He's an interesting cat.
Is he still out there doing it?
Yeah. He's still grinding it out. I don't know.
I'm trying to find... I've got his audiobook on here. Here you go. Listen to this. This is him.
A New Earth.
Happiness depends on conditions being perceived as positive. Inner peace does not.
Does that excite you?
Isn't it possible to attract only positive conditions into our life?
I don't know if we're allowed to play that, Bianca. That could be
You're allowed 10
copywritten.
seconds. You're allowed 10 seconds.
There he is.
There you
You're
go.
allowed
That's
10
him.
seconds.
That's him flat out all the
Eckhart
time.
Tolle. I'm going to have a look. Going to have a watch.
Get excited.
All right. Well, I think we're almost done.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late.
It's all right.
That's okay.
It's a long way from Broadmeadows to Harper Central.
Well, we're at episode 10, so we'll let you take this bad boy home because you did miss out on the start. But
It's our turn for a Craigsit, not an Brexit. We're out of
really,
here.
yeah.
And can I just say, the shittest word ever invented.
Brexit.
Can we just... Yeah, that's not a word, but it will be. It'll be in a dictionary sometime.
It's an amalgamation.
It is. We're so lazy now. Oh, Brexit.
It's a hashtag.
Brexit.
That's
What would
right.
you have called it if you had to come up with some kind of term?
Brexit.
All right, we're done. We're dusted.
It's good.
Peace out.
We got nothing. Episode 10 done, dusted, in the can. Francis will be back in his seat next
Oh,
week.
I
No,
like
he
it
won't.
here.
I'm going to that seat.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, you can sit here next week.
Okay, thanks.
Driver's seat. You can intro and outro the show next
Okay,
week.
sure.
Your turn.
Happy to do it.
See you, kids.
See ya.
Bye-bye.